This is the Lugnuts Podcast. Hey folks, welcome back for another episode of the Lugnuts Podcast. We've been a bit busy, so we apologize for the delay in getting this out to you. Sam got a gluteal enhancement surgery done in January, and he experienced a few complications, unfortunately. But he's healing up nicely now, and he's looking great. That said, some of the car news you're going to hear is slightly dated, but I'm sure you'll cope with it somehow. For example, the Honda Passport that we discuss should actually now be on dealer lots by now. Also, we discuss zombie car scenarios in this episode. We have another round of Get Off My Lawn. And finally, we talk about some cars from other markets that we wish we had here. So sit back and enjoy the show. All right, I think we are rolling.
All right, well, welcome back to our listeners.
Yeah, from the break.
2019.
Yeah.
We're glad you're back.
Uh-huh.
We're going to start this off since it's a new year. You know, we're in the midst of the government shutdown. Hopefully by the time you hear this, that is no longer happening.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've been talking lately about what would happen if the apocalypse hit and you had to have a car to survive.
You had to get out of Dodge, so to speak.
You got to get out of Dodge. You want, to take, your family. You want to be able to survive. And so what are you going to take with you? And I know that you've given this quite a bit of thought, probably.
Well, some thought,
we joked in an earlier episode that you probably wouldn't take a Hyundai Tucson, even though that's what they're going to take in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
They may have been a corporate sponsor. I don't know.
No, they totally were. And I remember in season 1 or 2, remarking that I was like, every vehicle in this episode is a Hyundai. Wait a minute. And then the commercial came on and it was
the reality. And not to knock the Hyundai.
No, not at all. It's just it wouldn't necessarily be my first choice if the zombies are coming up against the wall, you know what I mean?
So they're coming against the wall. What is your car? You've given this quite a bit of thought.
Well, somewhat. But, in light of our other conversation today, maybe I was totally wrong. My thinking was you want something that's diesel. Right? Because unleaded gas pretty soon after the zombie apocalypse is going to go bad. After my understanding with regular gasoline, within 6 months or so of sitting in the tank, it starts, especially when it's mixed with the ethanol, starts to go bad, right? They don't put any fuel stabilizer down in that tank.
No.
They don't need to. They're selling a lot of it.
Yeah, the ethanol, it helps. It doesn't help. It splits up the gasoline. You have kind of a varnish buildup, which is really nasty for modern engines.
Yeah, right.
But even if you had ethanol-free gas, there's an expiration date there.
Exactly.
And we talked about that today. There's actually, it was funny, we were talking to somebody we work with whose friend owns a gas station, and the guy was talking about how diesel...
owns farm equipment, too.
Yeah, and how, he has a big tank on his farm, and, they have to make sure that they cycle through that, because if it sits, it'll gel, and it forms,
He was saying mold.
Yeah, mold, which is really interesting. But you were convinced that diesel was going to last a super long time, but we came to find out that that's not really the case.
But it lasts longer than unleaded, right?
Yeah, although there's differing opinions about that. I was on several sites today. One of them being the Petroleum Institute, which I don't know how much I trust that, because it's going to be a biased source, because they want you to use.
Yeah, but there's some pretty engineering, mathematically.
Yeah,
people.
But at the same time, they want you to use up what you have and buy more.
That's true.
But I read different things, and one thing I came to was someone talking about for 4 years they had it in a gas can, a sealed gas can in their garage, and they busted it out for their lawnmower, and it had sat for 4 years, and it was fine, but. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind that there are several variables to consider when it's sitting in a gas tank versus a sealed container in a cool, dry environment.
Moisture, breathing the oxygen, how much air it's contacting, probably
exactly.
are my first two things that come to mind.
I mean, and the gas tank in a regular modern car is not sealed. There's going to air
it ventilates.
It's going to get moisture in there, and then if it's sitting outside in the extreme hot summers. That's actually worse than the cold, apparently. So, I went down this rabbit hole of how to best store your fuel for the long term. But in the end, basically, no matter whether it's gas or diesel, they're saying use it within 3 years. or it's going to be really bad for your engine.
Interesting. So I still go with diesel, but I would go with one that's, I would think, so my guess today, or the first thing that comes to mind is like get something with like one of those Dodge Ram trucks. It's probably pre-2012 with a Cummins engine, right? Something that I think will run on vegetable oil or at least biodiesel.
Okay.
Now, I think this because my thinking was that the length of storage on diesel, and the other thing is that like those trucks can the rest of it can fall apart, but that engine's probably going to run for a good long time.
Yeah, pretty bulletproof, and without all the emissions, the modern emissions equipment.
Yeah,
you could run the soy in there, and
it's not going to have a check engine light that's going to restrict your speed to 5 miles per hour. That's another story for me.
Yeah.
But it'll run. It'll go. It's got fuel. The thing is going. It's happy. And I think that would be good. That would be my choice. It's a truck, so you got a little bit, you can go off-road. You can run over zombies.
Yeah.
If you need to. You can throw your crossbow in the back in the bed.
That's true. I'm going a totally different direction on this one.
Which way are you going?
I'm going with a motorcycle.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I'm going with a dirt bike.
Don't you want a cage? Don't you want a protective thing around you for the zombies?
I want to be able to get away quickly and maneuver through situations where a vehicle would probably get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I.e., you're in a downtown area and here come the zombies, and
you got to get around a roadblock.
But there's a roadblock.
Yeah.
You're screwed. Then
you
got to
abandon the sidewalk.
it. So if I would I would have a Honda.
Mm-hmm.
Motorcycle.
Which one?
Probably because I'm a shorter statured dude.
Never noticed.
I know. Probably the 150, like the CR 150.
I was gonna say the Africa Twin because that's my favorite.
No, too big. And the thing is, like, I'm living this
fucking beast though. You could go from here to like. You can.
You could, but it's also super heavy. And if you got knocked over or something, that would be a pain in the butt to have to pick up really quickly.
Especially when the zombies are chasing you.
The zombies are chasing me. All I have on my back is my crossbow and, a backpack with water, maybe a sleeping bag.
A couple Snickers bars.
I'm kind of living day to day. I'm going to ride this thing until I find a group of people. Yeah. And I'm going to join them. And then
they're not cannibals.
Yeah, that happened, but anyway, so I'm going with a motorcycle. The evasion factor, the ability to go really far, off,
I understand that, and that's a good tactic. I do come back to and this is just kind of thought occurred to me, maybe something that could have a rooftop tent as well. So that I don't know how well zombies climb, but so that maybe takes me into Land Rover territory. Not Land Rover, I'm sorry, Land Cruiser. I would not trust a Land Rover in the zombie apocalypse. I wouldn't trust a Land Rover to
That'd be like the opening
tomorrow.
Sequence. It wouldn't start.
And the puddle of oil on the ground.
You're just dead. That was a short-lived
That's the end of the story.
Experience.
The Land Rover.
Yeah. No, the rooftop tent would be brilliant because you could pull the ladder up and then you might hear them scratching. So if you want to do that,
but you have a height advantage, and you can shoot down on them.
But so here's a little plug for rooftop tents. If you're going to do that, you get one that you mount above the bed that has the ability to access it from the bed.
Oh,
so
wait.
I got to give a little shout out to this recent camper that a buddy of mine shared with me. And it's for Jeeps, but it's called Ursa Minor. And basically, you replace the hard top of your Jeep or soft top with this.
I saw one of these.
It's top.
I saw one of these. Yeah, it's like a thick hard top.
Yes.
I've seen one of these in person.
And what's brilliant about it is that you can access it from inside the Jeep.
Okay.
So here's what happens. You're laying up there, the zombies come, they're scratching, you're like, oh, crap. You wake up your spouse or whatever. You climb down into the vehicle, start the vehicle. It's a Jeep. You can just run them over.
Yeah.
So if you're going rooftop tent, little shout out to Ursa Minor. Really cool tent. There's a bunch out there for trucks and things like that now. Obviously, the popularity of rooftop tents, but so I hear you saying a diesel pickup. You want a rooftop tent?
Yeah, diesel pickup. I know. Heck, if all the gas is going to go bad at the same time, then that opens up a world of opportunity. So maybe I'd go with a Jeep with a rooftop tent then too.
Okay,
4-door Wrangler.
I guess then I'll go with a fat bike that I pedal myself. I don't know. Throw some bags.
I like
on
the
side of
motorcycle
it.
idea, though.
Evasive. That's what I'm going for.
It's evasive.
Now, keep in mind that doesn't factor in my family in any way, shape, or form.
Well,
So
they have their own cars. We're going into caravan style. Think about that.
That's true.
It's the apocalypse. Your kid's not old enough to drive. He doesn't need to be old enough because there's no licenses anymore.
That's right. So my wife is driving the truck with him in the truck, and I'm scouting ahead in the motorcycle.
Yes, that's
so
what
if
you're
things
doing.
go bad,
Shit hits the fan.
I come back, and we turn around in the truck, and then we find another route.
Yeah.
Okay. And I could do the rooftop tent that way too.
Yeah.
Into the bed of my truck.
Yes.
But then what's not good about that versus the Jeep is you're actually inside the Jeep, where this, you just go into the bed and then you're like, oh crap, where do I go from here? Anyway, I digress. We've shared our vehicles.
Yeah.
We're going to survive 2019 when the apocalypse hits.
Or the government shutdown, one or the other. Okay, car news.
Car news. Some pretty exciting things were announced over the holidays. But before we talk about that, let's talk about things that we talked about in 2018, which are hitting dealer lots now.
Yeah, so there were a lot of things that we were anticipating, and maybe it's going to come in December, but now, no, we're fully into January. They should be arriving here on dealer lots. The first one that I thought of, because I was at a Toyota dealership getting service the other day, was the new RAV4. They have a bunch of new trim lines. They have various configurations. They have the new hybrid version. Which
did you see them?
I did not see them because I think they were literally like being pulled off the truck that morning or something like that.
Cool.
But they are now, they're here. They're stateside. They're arriving at dealerships. That's
nice.
one.
Okay.
The other ones that's starting to show up on websites, as far as I can tell, they're either in transit or arriving or here, are the new Ford Rangers.
Nice. Yeah, those are supposed to be out this month.
Those are supposed to be out this month, and that could be a separate topic there. The CX-5 turbos, I believe, are also now hitting dealer lots.
Nice.
As well
That's
from
pretty
Mazda.
exciting. Yeah.
Those are the ones that I kind of mostly have my eye on. The one that remains to be seen that I don't think has arrived just yet is the Honda Passport, which I don't believe we've talked about, right?
We haven't talked about it. I've seen some pictures. Hopefully we'll see it at this upcoming Utah Auto Expo.
It's coming up soon, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully they'll have one there. But it's designed to, they're slotting it between the CR-V and the Pilot.
Indeed, yeah.
So why are you so pumped about this?
The
you're
Passport, I
it.
am kind of excited. I think it fills a niche that is not really been serviced, at least by Honda, for a while. The Passport was a name that was applied, they retired the name, they retired the line, they're kind of resurrecting it. And as far as I can tell, it's more, it reminds me of like an Xterra, or at least from the photos I've seen, it reminds me of more of a proper SUV. I don't think it's body on frame. I think it's probably still unibody construction.
Unibody, okay.
But it does have a 5,000 pound towing capacity.
That's impressive.
It is, because a lot of SUVs in that segment these days forego towing ability altogether, because I think a lot of people probably don't use it, and the manufacturers know that.
Yeah. But why not have it there as a possibility if somebody does want to tow?
Yeah. I mean, off the top of my off the top of my single head, the ones that I can think of that do have a good towing capacity are the Jeep Cherokee. That one has a reasonable towing capacity. That's somewhere around 7,000 pounds, 7,000 pounds. Weirdly, the Porsche, the what am I trying to say? Not the Macan.
The Macan. I think you're talking about the Cayenne.
So the Macan actually has a 5,000 pound.
Yeah, that's crazy
towing capacity, and the Cayenne's got to be even higher.
Yeah,
but just that little, that's ridiculous.
The fact that they're offering that, I think they
don't really advertise it. I don't think people are looking for that in that Porsche, but still.
Yeah, more of these companies are going to that, because I think why not have that as an option?
Yeah. I'm curious to know, so the CX-5 was one that with its base engine did not have a great towing capacity. I want to say it was either 1,500 pounds or 3,000 pounds. It wasn't very high.
Yeah.
It actually was on par with like the Subaru Outback, which can tow 3,000 pounds weirdly.
Yeah.
But I wonder with the turbo engine if they've updated or beefed up any of the other transmission components, because that's part of a towing capacity. It's not just horsepower and what's under the hood, right?
It's how it's geared.
Yeah. It's like it's cooling, right? Oil cooling, transmission cooling. It's the strength of the components in the transmission. It's it's several other factors that are thrown in there. Anyway, I digress. Those are some of the cars that should be hitting dealer lots. I will have to check back on the Honda website to see when the Passport's actually coming stateside, but soon.
Well, further off into the future, but was announced over the holidays, is the pricing of the Porsche Taycan. Taycan. There's actually a video on YouTube that teaches you how to say it.
How is that spelled? Do we know?
It's spelled Taycan.
Taycan. Get me a Taycan.
Get one of them Taycans. But this was interesting on Autoblog. This one gentleman, he posted, that he got a response, or he got a letter from Porsche that basically said, okay, we have the announcement of the pricing, and it's going to be in the low 90,000s for the base model.
Interesting.
High 90s for the 4S, and then over 130 for the turbo.
So along the Tesla, I think Tesla.
Similar. I'm thinking a little bit higher in price, but the funny thing... The funny thing in all of this, and this guy talks about this, is the fact that they're using the turbo nomenclature.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're right.
I mean, think about it. Like this is an electric car. There's no turbo.
There is no turbo. No.
But I read another article where they just went into the whole like branding of the turbo name, and
True.
And it has this sort of panache to it that Porsche people, they're like, ooh, it's a turbo, and and that's just sort of ironic. It's just funny that they're calling it that, more out of like the nomenclature of like, hey, it's turbo, so it's the highest end one, versus it actually having a turbo, which we know it doesn't. Do we know all-wheel drive configurations on any of those? Is that the base? I'm guessing since it's just the Taycan, it doesn't say. That's going to be probably rear-wheel drive.
That makes sense.
The 4S will be four-wheel drive.
Okay.
Any of the Porsche stuff that's 4 or 4S. And then the turbo will be all-wheel drive as well.
Okay.
So, but I mean, this thing's going to be cool. Like I talked to a person who went to Stuttgart during the holidays, and she saw one of these at the Porsche Museum, and she said it was gorgeous.
Sex on wheels, huh?
It's going to be, yeah. I mean, hats off to Tesla. They started the trend, and everybody was poo-pooing them, and then
it looks hot. It looks sporty as heck. It looks like it might be a 2+2.
I'm guessing it's going to be similar to the layout of, it's designed to kind of appeal to like the Panamera crowd.
Yeah, which I love. I know
you love the
people want to shit on that. I love that car. I love that car.
No, that's a fantastic car, but this thing is just going to be, I mean, imagine the Porsche engineering and the quality of the build, but with an electric drivetrain. It's going to be bonkers.
It will be, yeah.
So like, get your orders in, people. If you want one, you got to throw down a $2,500 deposit, sight unseen. But man, if I had the money, that would be the car.
And that's coming soon, right?
That's coming soon. So they say 2020, but the orders are going in now. So
okay, another electric one that just came out. I'm going to step on your toes here, but another electric one that we should know about, and this may date this episode just a little bit. This was just announced today at CES in Las Vegas, is the next iteration of the Nissan Leaf. Slightly less exciting than a Porsche Taycan, but this was due for a refresh, and Nissan had apparently kind of sat on the refresh due to some, how should we put this, some issues that were going on in the management of Nissan. Google will point you in the right direction as to what happened there. There were some interesting things with their
financial
people. people, things. Don't sue us. And anyway, so the Nissan Leaf got a bit of a refresh last year. If you look at the pictures of it, I think it actually looks first of all, it's now looking like a normal car. The Nissan Leaf for a while stuck out as like the quirky, like we're an electric car, right? Now it looks like a car, and I think that's great because they realize they need to appeal to just a broad audience.
And that idea of like, ooh, look at me, I drive an electric car, like that's kind of going away. Like people just want it to look like a regular car.
Yeah, they want the features and like the performance of a regular old car.
Exactly.
So this one has a 62 kilowatt hour battery, which is I find peculiar that they didn't go 60 or 65. They settled on 62 kilowatt hours. And that battery is actually they've off how would we say this? That battery is being manufactured by LG. It's no longer being manufactured by Nissan. The other interesting thing about that battery is that it is passively cooled. It is not like Tesla has like a cooling system to their batteries when they generate heat, right? Nissan, they don't feel like they need that. Their engineers have kind of come up. They think they've got enough experience with the manufacture of the Leaf. It's basically air cooled.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It is impressive.
That probably speaks to the improvements in the battery technology.
I think it's that. I think there's probably a cost management aspect in there. I have to think that it's got to be, brings their manufacturing cost. It's a different, it's a vehicle in a different segment than obviously a Tesla, even the currently manufactured 3s. Anyway, so Nissan is no longer making that battery. LG is making the battery pack. 214 horsepower, which this is still going to take me a while to wrap my mind around. With electric cars, it's not horsepower, it's kilowatts. So that's 160 kilowatt motor, which equates to about 214 horsepower. And that gives you about 226 miles of range, which puts it in, striking territory of several of the other mass market EVs that are out there. I'm thinking of like the Hyundai Kona EV that's coming out soon.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the Chevy Bolt. Thinking of, I guess the Tesla 3 if we ever get it in a low end sort of configuration, so to speak. And that puts it within all those vehicles sort of roughly, I'd give or take 20, 30, 40 miles within sort of striking distance of each other.
Well, in that vein, one that I just popped in my head that I watched kind of the making of video. The Audi e-tron will be arriving shortly. So those are going into production.
And that's fully electric, right?
Fully electric. That has a 95 kilowatt hour battery. Super zippy 0 to 60. Slots between, I believe, the Q5 and the Q7. It's gorgeous. You know what it looks like to me? It looks kind of like an all-road.
Yeah, I like the all-road.
Which those are gorgeous. I mean,
I like them.
Despite the fact that you often see them where like the suspension's broken and it's like, they're dragging along the ground. This car it's really pretty. So again, you can throw down your money for one of these right now as they start to ramp up production. But
yeah, Audi's one of those. I don't know. This is maybe a little bit of a digression. Audi's one of those brands that I'd say, it's one of those lease it brands. I think.
Yeah, it's this looks really cool. So
they're gorgeous cars though.
If you're, if you're an Audi fan and you're looking for something in the SUV realm that's not quite as big as a Q7 but has the electric drivetrain, this might be for you because they're not too pricey. I'm trying to pull up they start at 75. I mean, that's relative, the term pricey, but
yeah. So there's another one, another truck that's coming out as well, is there not?
Yeah. So this is crazy. And I didn't even know about this until I read this actually today. There's a truck called Atlas. It's spelled ATLIS. If you go to atlasmotorvehicles.com, they're building a full-size truck. That the stats are impressive. Again, similar to the stats that you're seeing from like Rivian and whatnot. But this is a bigger truck. It's bigger than the Rivian.
Really, it's a full-sized pickup.
Yeah, because one of the questions on here was like, how's this going to compete with the Rivian? And they're like, well, ours is a full-size truck that I think they see as being used by like somebody who works in construction or
more of a commercial application. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's got all these little goodies for that. The thing about this and the articles that I read, basically, they say this is really cool, but like they haven't built a fully operating prototype yet.
Yeah, doesn't it say like give us some money? It's kind of they have a kind of a GoFundMe on their page.
Yeah, it's like
right?
It's kind of interesting on the website. They have like down at the bottom, it's like reserve, and then over to the other side it says invest. And if you click on invest, then like I mean, this is cool. Just the idea of it, and it'd be awesome if it comes to fruition. And who said it can't? So. People, if you're looking for a company to invest in, you may want to check this one out.
Any prices announced for that, or just?
And that's the thing, that the pricing that they list, and I don't know how they factor the pricing when they don't have enough to build it yet.
Well, yeah,
but they say around 45.
Really?
Yeah, which would be super impressive. So. Yeah. Again, much like the Rivian, this is American made. So if this does go into production, that's more American jobs, and that's always a good thing.
I think that makes it easily. I think that it's easier to market that maybe to American consumers as well.
Well, and there was another SUV that this Chinese company, that they're saying is going to launch, but. With the potential tariffs and things, I just don't see that. I'm not putting much weight behind anything that's coming out of China right now.
Yeah, the current political climate. Maybe
less
likely.
And in all honesty, like why, we look at the Tesla. I mean, we can build a really quality electric vehicle. Why not support these companies like Atlas and Rivian? So, we wish them well. It looks cool. So.
That's it for car news. Okay, we're bringing the segment back.
Oh, we often pitch these as if we've done them multiple times, but this one, I think this one's going to stick.
It might stick. This one is, we're bringing back Get Off My Lawn.
Get off my lawn!
Here, you young whippersnappers. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not super old, but we have our gripes, and the filter is slowly dropping off. Like I worry about how much my filter will not exist when I'm old.
Oh, by the time I'm 70, I'm gonna have a great time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna get kicked out of the nursing home.
Yeah, I'm gonna let my balls hang out. Like it's gonna be a shit show. It's gonna be amazing,
bonkers.
Yeah.
So, actually. Today, driving down here, one of these came to me.
Uh-huh.
I'm driving along, look in the rearview mirror, because unlike a lot of drivers, I'm attentive. I'm always looking around, seeing what's going on, right? Because I see a little bit of a glimmer in the rearview mirror, and I look at the car behind me, and I literally think that there is a cop car behind him. Blue flashing lights, and for a while, I'm like thinking, oh well, this cop must have pulled out and tagged this guy, and this guy just is kind of clueless and is driving along. No, this guy had like blue flashing lights inside of his car.
Inside of his car.
Like I don't know if his kids were playing a game or something, but I for a second was like, oh crap, I'm gonna get pulled over or what's going on?
It's illegal to have them on the outside of your car for sure, but on the inside,
I don't know what was going on. It was really bizarre.
Yeah.
But so I just think stop. You're going to cause an accident, or you're going to cause, you're freaking me out, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting pulled over.
Yeah.
And on that same vein, the other thing that's a get off my lawn is when I'm, listening to the radio and some song has freaking sirens in it.
Yes.
And
super irritating.
Yeah. And like all of a sudden you're
looking around.
I think a law should be made that says like you're not allowed to use sound effects that mimic like emergency vehicles.
At least maybe in like songs, or I don't know.
Yeah.
At least maybe if it's going to be played on the radio.
Yeah.
Tough on podcasts. We're not going to insert a siren into this podcast.
No, but we
respect your driving.
We will. Yeah, and maybe you're listening to this in the car, and right now you're looking around for flashing lights, and you're listening to some song that has sirens in it.
Maybe.
So those are my get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Kind of mundane, but
get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
I've got a couple.
What's yours?
I got a couple.
Okay, hit me.
You know, when you look around at cars, a lot of times on websites or watch reviews, a lot of cars now, instead of a spare tire in the trunk, there's a can of Fix-A-Flat. And get off my lawn. I want a spare tire in my trunk. I don't want a can of Fix-A-Flat. I want to get out, change the tire, and then get to where I'm going, and then like not have to throw away the whole wheel and the tire when I get there. The Fix-A-Flat, if you put that in a tire or a wheel, it ruins it. Oftentimes, like you can't. It will get you to where you're going.
Yeah. Well, the tire shops hate you.
The tire shops hate you
because they have to clean it out,
and it's got to clean it off the wheel and everything, and it ruins. Like the tire is done. Like there is no like plugging it and like moving on.
Yeah,
it's done. So that's my first get off my lawn. My second one has more to do with like modern car layout and design, and it is the combination of touch screens everywhere and the lack of buttons everywhere. Menu-driven interfaces to do things like change the fan speed, or I don't necessarily want a touchscreen. When those things break, they're expensive as heck to fix.
And well, all of that stuff is, I mean, if it's all interconnected to that one thing, you're dead in the water.
You got to take the whole panel out. There's no, like, you can't just, like, kind of open it up and get a switch in there. I want buttons I want one button that does one thing, and that's it.
And I think we're going to see we're starting to see the evolution of these and them becoming more popular in more cars.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see, I'll be interested to see how long they last.
Yeah.
The Dodge, it's not the Dodge Ram. I'm sorry, listeners. I know it's just Ram. The new Ram pickup, which just won this comparison between that and the F-150 and the Chevy. It has a gorgeous interior, but it has this enormous digital display. Like
that doesn't seem right in a truck.
And I just think like, oh, that's cool, and you're gonna like gee whiz, yay, like. But then I don't know, you wade across some water or something, and the thing shorts out, and then like you can't have heat.
$2,000. Yeah, that's the thing. You lose all that functionality just because that screen is gone. That seems ridiculous. One thing. Yeah. So get off my lawn. I want buttons.
You want buttons? Okay. Well, I got to mention one more thing about the spare tire.
Okay. All right.
So, beyond just the Fix-A-Flat, the goo, right?
Right.
Is this idea of having a small, like a donut.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay for some cars, but I recently was reading a review where they took a Land Rover in the backcountry, blew a tire, they pull off. This is a Land Rover, which is designed to go off-road. They pull over, and it has a donut.
A Land Rover had a donut?
Donut spare.
That's
like,
why?
Exactly. That's
disappointing.
It's very disappointing, and I think of, if anybody does any sort of off-roading, you have a full-size wheel to replace because
totally,
and in this comparison, they essentially, I believe it was Road and Track, they essentially had to leave it down at the bottom of this climb that they ended up doing with these other vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So it completely shot itself in the foot, by not having that at all,
Totally.
And then the other piece the other big, like, get off my lawn from a lot of people, and I'm kind of over it because it's just like people just keep bringing it up and up and up, but I'm going to bring it up one more time. Run flat tires.
Yes. What bugs you about those? Or doesn't bug you?
The ride quality's terrible.
Even when fully inflated.
Yeah, the sidewalls that's like a brick.
Yeah.
And I get that's the technology, that's how it works, but the first thing I do on every car that I purchase, and there's one brand that uses them a lot. I won't mention it here, but every time I get that type of car, when it comes time to replace the tires, run flats or gonzo, And somebody today was like, well, what happens if you get a flat tire? I call AAA.
Or change it, one or the other.
I don't have a full-sized, I don't have any spare.
You don't have any spare?
No, but like, I got AAA, and I'm not going to be anywhere where AAA's in this particular car, where AAA can't get to me.
Yeah.
I'm not going off-road.
Right.
Off-road, you need a full-size spare.
Mm-hmm.
So people, if you're thinking about going off-road, no matter what you're thinking about doing, full-size spare.
Yep. Amen. Okay, new segment.
New segment.
Yeah.
It's called Come over to my house.
Yeah, come over to my house and play.
Yeah.
Come play over here.
We want you to come play here. And the premise of this is there's so many cars that they get in other countries that we don't get here.
Definitely.
And it's like, for one, I get that like our market doesn't support, an example is the BMW 1 Series, the hatch. Like, that is a fantastic little car.
I would love to have that here.
Manual.
Yep.
2-door hatch, like rear wheel drive. Yeah, we don't get that here.
Yeah. Europe gets their dime a dozen over there.
Yeah,
right?
and I think I remember reading that it was like the number one seller in Europe of BMWs because it's their econo car.
Yeah.
It's their cheap one, as cheap as a BMW can be. So that's one of them. But the other one that sort of like jumped out to me recently was reading an article, was the Ranger Raptor.
Yeah.
They have this.
Yeah. It's been, so the Ranger itself has been available in other markets, even in Mexico. So even in other markets in North America, the Ranger has, they've made all this noise recently about, the Ranger's coming back to America. Well, it's been made in a lot of the rest of the world for several years. But yeah, you're right. They have that Ranger Raptor in other parts of the world.
Come on, Ford. Like, you have the TRD Pro from Toyota.
Yep.
You've got the ZR2 and now the ZR2 Bison, which is really rad. So basically this company that works in collaboration with GM, Chevy, they took the ZR2 and made it even more badass. Yeah, so like dedicated kind of off-roader, even more than the ZR2, which I think that's kind of hard to top, but it comes with the gas and the diesel. But anyway, so we have that Ford. We got those trucks. They sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, they would sell a lot.
You're missing a market here because honestly, if I could, I love the regular Raptor. But it's too big.
It's huge. Yeah.
And like, if you're going to take that, like in the desert, on a lot of Jeep trails and stuff, there's going to be places where that's going to be tight fitting. Yeah. Where the Ranger Raptor would be.
Sorry.
The Ranger Raptor would be ideal. That's what she said. So, Ford, please don't keep it over there. Bring it over to my house. Let's play. Let's bust out the Legos.
Yeah, totally.
Let's do this.
Another one that came to mind on the truck thing was the Hilux. People compare the Hilux to the Tacoma, but it's not exactly the same. And part of the reason it's not exactly the same is you can get, I forget what the engine size, I believe it's a 3-liter or maybe a 3.5-liter diesel in the Toyota Hilux in most other parts, all the markets where the Toyota Hilux is sold. The Hilux famously in the Top Gear, they dropped it off a crane and put it in the ocean and all that shit, and it still runs. They're notoriously dependable, long-lasting trucks.
I'll never forget that Top Gear episode.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They dropped it off the train, they buried it in the ocean, and
that's bonkers. Yeah, and it's so cool looking. But then there's the diesel piece, But for our listeners. One of the reasons they don't bring that in is the old chicken tax, right?
Yeah,
they would have to build it in the United States.
They would have to build it in the United States, right?
And I'm guessing the diesel would cause some problems with emissions and things like that. So they're
probably. I know they have to tweak for American emission standards, so that's another thing. The other one that came across my radar recently that I didn't even know was made is basically a Subaru wagon. It's called the Subaru, I think I'm going to pronounce this probably incorrectly, Levorg, which is some iteration of Legacy Evolution Touring that has all those letters in Levorg somehow. Anyway, and it's basically, think of like a E63 kind of wagon. It's like a 300 horsepower Subaru like wagon, but bigger than like the WRX hatch was. I think it even says WRX on the back, but it's a fast wagon for grown people, basically.
But at a price point that would be more attainable than
probably at a lower
Mercedes.
Price point. Yeah, definitely a lower price point than Mercedes or some of those BMW wagons. I've been looking at a lot of wagons online lately, so I had wagons on the brain, and probably Google knew this and suggested this. They were like, "Look at this car you can't have." Does not come to North America. They're in Japan. They're in Europe. They're in Australia. We don't get it. Come to our house and play.
if you don't decide to come to our house and play on this one, Subaru, at least give us the hatchback back.
Yeah, so there are murmurings of the hatchback, the WRX hatchback, returning in 2020 with the WRX refresh. There are murmurings of that now.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
make it happen, Subaru.
As you know, I owned a hatch, and it was it was my favorite car ever. So
yeah, so well, those are our come over and play.
Come over and play. And that is the episode. We are sponsored this week by that 2-year-old French fry that's under your car seat, and also the wad of napkins that are in your glove compartment. As usual, you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you'd like to reach out to us via email, we are lugnutspodcast@gmail.com. We'll be back at you in about 2 weeks with more automotive chit-chat. Have a good one.